Hey, chiropractors, welcome to Modern Chiropractic Mastery with your host, Dr. Kevin Christie, where we discuss the latest in marketing, business, and professional growth with some of the leading experts in the industry.
Hey, Doc, are you motivated? Or do you feel like sometimes the motivation is a struggle for you? And in today's episode, I'm going to actually dive into motivation. And honestly, I think where it goes wrong, right? Like we know there's the rah motivation, and that's not what this episode is going to be. I'm going to really dive into what I've been working on for myself in this regard, right? We all know or think we know what motivation is, and obviously as it's defined, the reason one has for acting or behaving in a particular way, or another definition would be the general desire or willingness of someone to do something. And, there's intrinsic motivation, extrinsic motivation. I think we really, really value those that have that intrinsic motivation, self-starter. We hear all those words. And ultimately, we find a lot of times that the extrinsic motivation doesn't last long. And that's where I think a lot of where motivation ultimately goes wrong, where it's not a sustainable way of kind of getting in action. And so I wanted to chat a little bit about my thoughts on motivation for people. And I want to come out of the gates to kind of let you know where I think motivation kind of goes wrong. And what I've been thinking a lot about is typically, you think of the motivators out there. It can just be layering on top of, a faulty foundation, right? You think about the times where someone's trying to motivate you, but there's really not a lot of substance to it or foundation, or you're trying to motivate yourself, but you're looking for ways of kind of, putting a little bit of lipstick on a pig there in a sense, where it's not really got the underlying foundation to keep this going for a long term. It's like a sugar high ultimately. And it's a problem. And I think a lot of people struggle with it. I know I do personally. I'll probably share a couple different books that have worked, that have helped me. And one of them is Willpower Doesn't Work by Benjamin Hardy. And because we hear that word willpower too, right? It's like you got to will your way through it. And I think for short stretches of time, yeah, that makes sense. But that the essence of that book, Willpower Doesn't Work, talks about a lot of things that you need to set up your environment better to actually achieve these things or these actions in these habits that will have long lasting impact on you. And so that was a really good book that I found. And I've resonated with more on like coaching that's a little bit more wisdom based, right? And try to get to the root of what may be going on ultimately, right? And, there's a lot of good experts out there, and there's nothing wrong with them. Like when I think of motivational people, like a Jocko Willink, and there's other podcasters out there. There's other, the Tony Robbins of the world. There's nothing wrong with that. And that is obviously done very well for a lot of people. But for me, I've just always struggled, and you may be in the same boat as me, where that type of motivation hasn't moved the needle for you. It hasn't really given you the sustainable results that you've looked for, or just the habits to get there. And so I continue to look for, kind of wisdom-based information to fix the foundation of my behaviors and actions and thoughts and ideas and ways I work optimally, right? To make sure that the results are there consistently. And that's probably why I gravitate a little bit more towards, say, a Tim Ferriss podcast than a Jocko Willink podcast. Again, nothing wrong, but that's just kind of where I've been on my, over the years, started to get to know yourself a little bit more on what does allow me to maintain that intrinsic motivation. I will say I'm kind of naturally intrinsically motivated, but I'm continuing to try to fine tune that a little bit. And so that's why I've really been reading a lot of different types of information to dive into motivation. And so one of the things I've actually recently done was I have Strategic Coach. They're my entrepreneur coaching group. They've been great. Continue with them. Wouldn't have them out of my life. That's for sure. They're just going to be part of my operating system for the many years to come. But I actually brought on Dr. Manuel Astruc as my kind of business coach now, and he's been on the podcast a few times, and he's got an interesting background as a psychiatry. And so he's trained in that, but he also coaches folks like me that are trying to do big things, but at the same time, not sacrifice, family life and peace of mind and that type of stuff, but also really get to the root of what is maybe hindering me and try to unlock that. And that's what I've found to help me stay ideally intrinsically motivated, right? So I brought on Dr. Astruc back in January. It's going great so far. And it's just been someone to be able to dive into things. One of the things we're doing in March is a 360 review. Not fun, but if just to give you an idea of what that is they basically, it's anonymous, and they interview your team members and people in your life and try to get, basically they call it a 360 review because they're trying to look at all of the angles 360 all the way around of some of your blind spots and some of your strengths, some of your weaknesses, things like that to, shine a light on that so that you can get better, right? And that's part of me trying to get better is going through this process of a 360 review, which can be tough to hear sometimes. Some of the feedback you'll get isn't always easy on the ears, but it's something that I know that if I'm going to continue to get to the root of it and have that sustainable motivation and improve my leadership skills and that type of stuff, I need to do that. And it's my kind of way of trying to keep growing. I'm always trying to grow. I'm motivated to grow, but it's got to be foundational, not just that sugar high of kind of the raw motivation that's out there, right? And so that's where I'm going with this for myself as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a chiropractor, trying to continue to help as many chiropractors out as I can, try to grow our practice, try to be the family man that I want to be and have balance in all that, but achieve great things. Like I want to do that. I enjoy the challenge and the growth, and I enjoy helping people, and I want to be able to do it without sacrificing my personal life or peace of mind. And so I'm motivated to make sure that I uncover any blind spots that maybe I have in my leadership, because I think moving forward for me, and I've talked about that, leadership's huge, whether it's leading your patients, leading your team members, leading your family, leading yourself, right? You got to be good at that. And so I'll be doing that 360 review in March. And at some point, whenever the results come in and I digest them and I wipe my tears, I'll share some of my insights from that with you as well. So I want you to take a second, think about, for yourself, where is the potential roadblock for you for motivational issues, right? Like there's probably some things you need to be doing in your practice and you're just not doing them. And why is that? What's the roadblock? What's going on there, right? Where are you maybe going wrong with trying to find motivation? You might have sought out motivational improvements and it didn't work for you. Where did that go wrong, right? I think there's like probably 5 things that I kind of looked at where people tend to have issues with things with motivation. And one is procrastination, right? And there's an interesting concept from Strategic Coach. They talk about perfectionism leads to procrastination, right? So if you may be a perfectionist. A lot of, clinicians and science-based folks, they can be perfectionists. But is that causing you to procrastinate? in ways that are hindering your growth. And so you need to be clear on that as well. And you may need to start to delegate better. You may need to offload some of that. You may need to come to terms with, doesn't have to be 100% accurate all the time. And so, you got to get honest to see if you're procrastinating, and what's the root of that procrastination. It could be perfectionism.
All right, docs, here is a new opportunity for you from Darcy Sullivan of Propel. She is our SEO specialist in helping out many chiropractors with their search engine optimization and making sure Google is finding you and getting you new patients. It's amazing how many new patients chiropractors can get and are getting when they do the SEO right and a few other things. And Darcy is offering a free SEO workshop just for chiropractors, and you can sign up for that at bit.ly/propelmcm. That is bit.ly/propelmcm, modern chiropractic marketing, right? And so check out that link, and we're going to have you go over 5 SEO secrets to owning the first page of Google without buying ads. And Darcy's going to give that free workshop, 1 hour, to really help grow your practice and start churning new patients from the ever mighty Google, which is still king in the online marketing. So check that out at bit.ly/propelmcm for the 1 hour free workshop.
You may have fear of growth. Growth is uncomfortable, right? We coach a lot of people, and there's that there's that time frame where sometimes you've grown, but you haven't gotten to the other side of it yet, and it's uncomfortable, right? And it's an uneasy feeling. A lot of times that's growth, right? And so maybe you have that fear of that feeling of growth. You've been there before. It's uncomfortable. You don't want to go back there, but looking back on it, like on the other side of that was really, really valuable growth that helped you go. So, get honest with that fear of growth that you may have, right? You may have bad habits or lack of good habits. Not all habits are bad, or, you could have just no habits that are good in that particular arena. Another book on that I highly recommend is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Everybody at this point has probably heard of it. It's been like one of the all-time best-selling nonfiction books, but it's actual, legitimate ways that you can improve your habits, right? And then you could have a lack of clear goals. And this is a conversation I want to kind of dive into a little bit. And I was having this with someone not that long ago. And he had, texted me that really wants to move the needle financially, already doing really well financially, but wants a good next step. And I was asking him, why do you want to make more money? And the answer was somewhere along the lines of I want to have more money to be able to invest in things, and I was like, okay, why do you want to invest in these things? And there really wasn't a lot of clear goals around why I wanted more money, what it was going to take to make more money on that. And so we kind of went through and talked about my experience with setting very, very clear 3, 5, and 10-year goals. And I've talked about it before, but at age 40, which would have been I turned 40 January of 2020, I sat down and did my 3-year vision. I did a year 45 vision, so 5 years. And then subsequently, I've done the 10-year on that as well. And then within that 3-year, I really wanted to have freedom of money, freedom of time, and freedom of location. Those were the 3 things I wanted. Now, having young kids, obviously, there's only so much freedom of time I'm going to have, and there's only so much freedom of location I'm going to have, and frankly, only so much freedom of money when you have 2 young kids. But you get the point, with that being our family goal of having 2 kids and raising our family where we are and everything, that was the real substance of our personal life and our family goals. So within that, I wanted to optimize for freedom of money, time, and location. I'm not going to be traveling the world, hitting up different cities every 6 months, and living that nomadic lifestyle, because our most important thing is our family and our kids. So within that framework, I got super clear on what it looked like for me to optimize that. And, with really, clear goals, a lot of hard work and planning, I achieved that 3-year vision plan, which was really awesome because that just came up here at the end of 2022. And so now I'm kind of in that, okay, now age 43 to 45, there's a few things by age 45 that I want to accomplish. And then again at age 50 for me. And so maybe you just haven't set very good goals for yourself and your family, and then professionally what that looks like. And so that hasn't been clear for you. So you don't have that direction and guidance. And maybe that's chipping away at your motivation. I know when I set out to do that 3-year, that 5-year, um, I was really, that helped me become intrinsically motivated to achieve those things. And I had a clear path to get there. And so for you, you maybe have to just sit down with your significant other. Maybe it's just you right now. Maybe it's your dog, right? And sit down and have a really thoughtful session on what your goals are and then reverse engineer it from there. And that could be the roadblock that you've been facing is you just didn't have that vision. And that's been eating away at your motivation, right? And then lastly, I do think we all need accountability, right? As a business owner, sometimes your checking account is your accountability partner. It shows if you're doing what you need to or not, but you need to put people around you, right? And that's what I've always done. I continue to do that. I've got strategic coach. I've got Dr. Astra. I've got a public speaking coach, right? I've got the mastermind that we started. And so I've got accountability partners in there and people I can bounce ideas off of. It's like, so I'm never not going to have a coach. Like it blows my mind that people go years professionally without coaching because they just don't know what they don't know. They have these blind spots. They haven't got to the root of what's happening here. They don't have a vision. They don't know how to fix their cash flow problem. So they keep on doing the same thing. And then and that just chips away at the motivation of being a chiropractor. I get so many people call me up and like they're burned out because they're doing the same thing over and over again. And it's not working. And so it's chipped away at their motivation to show up to the office and treat 20, 25 patients in a day. Right. And so you might need some accountability for sure. Right. And, I think where you're at, like if you're a student right now, I know we get some students, the Chiropractic Success Academy would be a great option for you. We have a student discount rate. It's like $85 a month. And I know that's not nothing, but it's very reasonable for what you're getting, a guided program to help you with understanding a path and setting clear goals and overcoming fear of growth, right? And ultimately having some accountability as well. If you're a DC, that could be a great starting point for you as well. If you want a lot more accountability and coaching and obviously the marketing done for you, like we do your marketing for you. MCM now has our program and you could check us out there, but you need to have some kind of coach and you need someone that's like helping you to kind of overcome whatever the hangups are that's preventing you from having a very healthy level of motivation, right? I'm not asking you to try to, be David Goggins and have that level of motivation, right? That's kind of that, Gary V. David Goggins is awesome. Gary V, there's that hustle culture out there that's kind of getting a bad rap now. There's that kind of running through a brick wall motivation of David Goggins. And a lot of that's going to be helpful for a lot of people. And I like listening to it occasionally. Like I'll accept some of that into my life here and there just to get a kick in the pants a bit. But I really have to have that foundational kind of wisdom-based help to make sure that my motivation's at a very healthy level. It's not too much. It's not too low. It's intrinsic motivation, not extrinsic motivation too much. The extrinsic's going to help for sure, the accountability and just some of the things that are out there. Like, yeah, if you make a little bit more money, there's going to be some benefits to you and your family. You don't need to buy a Porsche, but it definitely helps with peace of mind, right? And so, those are just some of my thoughts on motivation. This isn't a motivational episode. It's not a motivational podcast. I'm not a motivational coach, but motivation is important. I just think we need to make sure that we have the right mindset for it and it's congruent with you. Everybody's different. There's so many people that have gone to Tony Robbins and it's changed their life. I get it. There's a lot of people that have gone there and it hasn't. Nothing wrong with Tony Robbins. It just, you may need a different angle on what is going to get to the root of your motivation and be able to sustain it. All right, that's my rant. That's my motivational episode. That's not a motivational episode. And I hope you can sit down. I'm going to leave you with a little bit of homework here. I want you to just do some thinking on what may be hindering your growth and start to get very clear on it and be honest, and maybe even have a conversation with your significant other, or if you have a business partner or a team member you trust, to get some insights from them and start to work on a plan that can help you overcome that. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And if you want to make the shift from busy, broke, and broken to time-free and cash confident, or you just want to continue with the exponential growth, check us out at modernchiropracticmarketing.com. Look at the MCM Mastery tab, watch the short video on there, and check out what we are doing now for evidence-informed chiropractors. We are equal parts coaching and marketing done for you. Yes, you shoot some videos, we help you with campaign strategies and ideas and really become a thought leader in your community. You shoot those videos, you send them to us, we produce, edit, and brand them to you. Then we distribute them through all of your channels. We also take them and we turn it into one good blog per month. And every other month, we have Darcy Sullivan producing a robust blog with a topic that you pick from her database to help with your SEO. So we essentially become your content marketing agency to make sure your practice is always having ethical, elegant content marketing to help grow your practice. On the coaching side, we also help you with everything from marketing ideas to business, communications, finances, anything practice growth, and really try to help prevent you from being stuck on that island. And we hold you accountable. We have a great group of doctors that are just doing amazing things, and we look forward to help you out to take that next step in your practice. So again, check us out at modernchiropracticmarketing.com and learn more.